Hey everyone, welcome to another video on my channel, and this is going to be a short and a crisp video but a very important one. So let's get straight to the point. And the government in the upcoming budget, as per the sources, is planning to make the F&O trading more stringent. So they are going to come up and make the entire F&O taxation as a speculative income, and they're also planning to introduce TDS on F&O profit. In this video, let's try to understand how this is going to affect me and you F&O traders and also the entire F&O universe. Let's try to understand how the entire F&O was working as of now and what the changes are going to do. So this is not confirmed, but most likely it is said that the government can take action towards making F&O more stringent. So coming to the F&O income today, right? F&O income today is treated as a non-speculative business income. That means if I am trading F&O today, government is not considering that I am actually into any speculative business, right? So it is considering the entire income or entire gain or loss from F&O as a business income. So this holds a lot of relevance and importance, right? So for example, if today F&O income is treated as a business income, then I am allowed to set off all the expenses against the business income. For example, any business expense related to my internet bill, petrol bill, travel, accommodation, anything where I can prove it is for the business expense, I can set off all the expenses against my business income and later end up paying tax. And not just that, at an individual level, you will be paying tax as per your tax slab. So even though it's an income from business and profession, you will still end up paying tax as per your tax slab in an individual F&O gain. So it is not just about the tax slab. The most important key here was setting off all your expenses against your gain and reduce your overall tax liability and then pay tax as per your slab, right? The moment government removes F&O trading from the business income and makes it speculative income, all the advantages that we had with F&O as a business income is going to get removed. So what is going to happen post this is, irrespective of whatever expense you have, by default F&O will be taxed at 30% slab. So you can't set off any expenses against it and you will be straight away taxed at 30% on your net gain. So this is going to be the most or the biggest disadvantage what we are going to face, because most of us will be trying to set off our tax liability by setting off expenses or even using presumptive income or presumptive income provision. But this is going to remove all of that and straight out you will be taxed at 30%. So now the second disadvantage is that it is not going to be as per your tax slab, right? So it is straight out 30% and it doesn't matter whether you have zero other income, other sources of income. So if you have made any profit with F&O, you will have to pay the tax because it's a speculative income. This is going to be the second disadvantage of the same. So overall, you can see how, if you are a profitable F&O trader, how this entire thing is going to affect you, right? So when you are making money, so it is going to actually cost you a lot in terms of the entire taxation. So the next issue is also going to be the carry forward of losses. Generally, if it is a business income, you can carry forward the loss up to 8 years, right? But when it becomes speculative income, you can only carry forward the loss for as much as 4 years. Let's say 4 years or 5 years I am having a continuous loss and 5th year I end up making a profit. I cannot set off the first year's loss against my profit if it becomes a speculative income. So that is one more disadvantage of business income becoming speculative income. So if this is on one hand, on the second hand, government is also planning to introduce TDS on F&O gains, right? So if you see the current cryptocurrency market, right? So there is 1% TDS on all the sell transaction. So on one hand, this is actually going to give government the transparency of what are the transactions happening and what was the buy and sell of the individual client. But on the other hand, this is also going to affect the entire F&O market participants quite a lot. So assume that I am going to charge you 1% TDS on all the sell transactions. So that's what is happening currently in the crypto market. So this is not going to be a favorable thing at all, right? So the thing is, when people are doing active trading, so buying and selling, so this entire 1% TDS is actually going to cause a huge dent on the people's cash flow, right? So even though this can be helpful for the government, but definitely not helpful for the retail participants. So if you actually try to look at the entire idea of the government, right? So the idea of the government is actually to discourage people from coming into F&O trading. But what they should really understand here is, when they are trying to discourage, let's say, people with lower capital like 50,000 or 1 lakh, the steps what they are intending to take is not going to serve the purpose, and here is why, right? So assuming that I am actually going to tax you, instead of a business income, going to make it as a speculative income, right? So more than 90% of the people with lesser capital are losing money, and the last thing they will have in their mind is about the taxation. I'm pretty sure if you go around asking people with less than 50,000 or 1 lakh, the last thing they will be worried about is how to save taxes. The first thing they will be looking for is how to double my money or how to triple my money, right? So how do I make this 50,000 into 2 lakh, but not how do I actually save the tax on my 50,000 gain, right? So it is not going to bother them at all, neither it is going to discourage them from coming into options trading. So now the second biggest disadvantage is again going to come down to the TDS level. Let's say a person who is going to have, say, 50,000 or 1 lakh capital, right? His intention is to make somewhere around 50% or 100% return. He is not coming here to make 2% a month or 1% a month, right? So for such people, so whose intention itself is to make around 50% a month, right? So they are not going to bother about 1% taxation. They are anyways going to come and trade. So now the question here is going to be, whom are you trying to actually protect? If you are actually trying to protect the retailers, the steps what you are trying to take is not going to protect them. Rather, it is going to affect the people who are doing business on a slightly larger scale. It can be slightly bigger retailers, it can be small prop firms, it can be big HNI clients. So these are the people who are actually going to get affected. So people who are trying to make 2% a month or 3% a month, they will face the heat. So in case given that all this is going to come out in the budget, and even TDS is going to be introduced on all sell transactions like how it is on crypto. This we have clearly understood is not going to discourage the retailers from actually coming into the markets and putting their money and risking the money. If they were so concerned, the moment they lose for 2 or 3 times, they would have stopped. They would have stopped paying for all the tips, which they are not doing, which means they want to come and try to make money as quick as possible. So these small restrictions of taxation, these small restrictions of 1% TDS is not going to stop them. If the government really wants to save the retailers, in my opinion, the government is not even trying to save the retailers, it is just trying to extract tax, and I will also tell you why, right? So F&O currently is generating very high income for exchanges, very high income for SEBI, very high income for government, because every time you do any transaction, right, you just go and take a look at the charges. The charges for any individual trader is going to be anywhere between 15 to 50% of his gross profit. So let us say you are a profitable trader, so you can also go and revisit your charges. It will be anywhere between 15 to 50% of your gross profit. So now the government is really happy with the money, and that's the reason it wants to extract more from the traders. It is trying to increase the tax slab, it is trying to bring in TDS, but not really protect the retailers. If the intention is to protect the retailers, then government can simply do one thing. It can have a basic exam, and people who clear the exam can only participate in F&O market. That can be one-off case, or that can be one-off filter for letting people into the market, right? The second filter can be, anyways, anybody who is coming into F&O will have a bank account, will be the age of above 18, right? And they are also going to ask for an income proof of bank statement or ITR. So what the government can also do is make submission of ITR compulsory. Anybody having income of above, let us say 5 lakh or above 3 lakh can take part in the F&O market. So anybody with an ITR of below 3 lakh or below 5 lakh cannot take part in the F&O market. This can be one more filter to remove people with lesser capital coming into the market and burning their hands. So government can do multiple things to actually stop them from coming into the markets. but government is doing none of them. Rather, what the government is doing, it is leaving the market open for all. So anybody who wants to come and trade, but pay me more. So that is not going to discourage people, because, for example, everybody knows that the entire gambling is not even a zero-sum game. You go to a casino, it is not a zero-sum game, it's a negative-sum game, right? But people still go and play and still lose money, right? So just by increasing the tax, it is not going to stop anyone from coming and gambling, anybody from coming and trading, right? The intention of the government is already being made clear. It is not to protect the retailers at all. If that was the intention, they could have implemented many other ideas to prevent retailers from coming into the market, but they are not doing that. They want more and more retailers to come into the market. That is their actual intention. And the idea is every time they trade, they can extract more money and become richer, but not to save the retailers. So this is not just going to cause an issue for retail trading, but entire F&O as a business. For example, F&O is for bigger businesses, for bigger portfolio, is actually used as a hedging tool, but not as a speculative instrument at all. They have portfolio worth thousands of crores and they buy put option as a hedge, but not to speculate. So for people like them who are actually running a big business and they're actually using options for hedging, right? So this is again going to be a bigger issue, because now the entire thing is actually being considered as a speculative income, even though they are using it for their regular business, and it is not a good thing at all. So the entire idea of F&O, the first initial idea of F&O, or introducing futures and options, was as a hedging tool. The whole purpose of F&O as a hedge is going to go away if you make it a speculative income. So I am not telling, so this is definitely going to happen, but even if the government is considering doing this, right? So I feel it is not a great move by the government at all, right? So they shouldn't even consider doing this. If it is being reported in papers, if it is being reported all across the news, definitely sources would have collected the necessary information to make these claims. And even if that is in the consideration, I feel it is not a good thing for the industry at all. Right? So again, if these things come into picture, so trading is definitely going to become more difficult and less appealing, right? So even I might somewhere consider to reduce my exposure towards trading, because paying 30% tax, not being able to, let's say, set off any expenses of the business, because we are doing trading full time, we run an organization. If we can't set off business expenses, then it is not going to make any sense, right? So also paying TDS, it is not going to be worth it to do it full time. It's good to do it out of passion, but not as a full-time business. So this, I'm just talking based on what is there out there in the news as of now. So it can be totally different. I hope government is not going to do this in the upcoming budget, and the things are going to be more lenient for F&O traders. So this was just an awareness video, and I hope you have got some insights or some valuable information from this video. So in such case, or in case if you are liking the entire content on this channel, you can always support me by just hitting the like button, sharing this video with all your F&O trader friends, and also subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for joining, guys, and see you soon in the next video. And also, we are coming to the end of the month, and you will be having some really exciting videos released very soon. See you soon.